Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be going through chapters 25 through 29 of Deuteronomy. And if you're just joining in or you have been going along here and you need the chronological study Bible, it's coming real soon, tomorrow or the next day, to where we'll bump into a psalm being thrown in right at the end of Deuteronomy here, which is really showing what we're doing, which is going through the Bible chronologically. So this resource, this particular Bible, the Chronological Study Bible, is important because we're taking the books historically as they show up. All you have to do is email me at becauseloveneverfails@gmail.com, and I will send you this particular Bible. And in doing so, please just send me your physical address, and I'll get that over to you. Okay, so jumping in chapter 25 of Deuteronomy here, um, basically it's getting into if there's a dispute between men, that the judges will judge them, and that and they so let's see, the judges may judge them, and they justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. Then it shall be, if the wicked man deserves to be beaten, this is verse 2, um, then there will be a number of blows given. And then in verse 3, these 40 blows are established, and he may give him no more. And lest he should exceed this and beat him with many blows above these, and your brother be humiliated in your sight. And this is referenced in the New Testament as well in uh, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 24. Paul was referencing being beaten by the Jews, from the Jews 5 times. So he was beaten 5 times by the Jews. He received 40 stripes minus one. So seeing these 40 blows here. And then also in verse 4, it says, "You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain." Paul also referenced this in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 9 through 11, where he says, "For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain. Is it oxen God is concerned about? Or does he say it altogether for our sakes? For our sakes, no doubt, this is written, that he who plows should plow in hope, and he who threshes in hope should be partaker of his hope. If we have sown spiritual things for you, is it a great thing if we reap your material things?" Um, so basically, what Paul's doing is he's giving a spiritual application here to what we're reading. So just kind of a literal application here in the Old Testament, and then looking at it from the spiritual application, because really, if you look at it with in terms of just the ox, what it's really saying is by not muzzling the ox, what you're allowing the ox to do is while the ox is working, if the ox isn't muzzled, then guess what? It gets to eat. And from a spiritual application, what Paul is referencing here is, hey, we're sowing among you. We're sharing the word. We're um, um, ministering to you and taking care of your spiritual needs. And in that process, there's got to be a giving back, right? These folks have to be taken care of. So allowing the ox to eat, allowing the minister to eat. Okay, and then marriage duty of the surviving brother. Um, so if a man, if a man were married to his wife and the man dies, and then that wife then is to go to the brother, because to bear children, and these children being born so that the name of the brother remains in the land. And in not doing so, we see this interaction here of her, taking a sandal from his foot, spitting in his face, and answering and saying, "So shall it be done to the man who will not build up his brother's house." Verse 9. Um, so this taking off of the sandal, in this case is seen as uh, really as a laying down of an insult, and that everyone will know that. Also, there are a couple places where we see sandals being taken off when Moses was at the burning bush, because he was told, "Hey, this is holy ground." And then also in Joshua chapter 5, verse 15, where Joshua was before the commander of the Lord's army, and both times these men were instructed to take off their sandals, for they were on holy ground. And miscellaneous laws, getting into verses 11 through 13. We see perhaps a stark penalty if two men are fighting and a woman approaches, and if he grabs the genitalia of the man, then her hand's to be cut off. And part of this is showing that with the man's genitals, it's his offspring, it's his his very livelihood of his name continuing. So if this is hindered, then her hand is to be cut off. And then just the Lord is just, and the command is for his people to be just as well. And in a very applicable way, we see this here with the measures. So you shall not have deferring measures. You shall have a just weight, a perfect and just measure. Verse 15. For all who do such things, who behave unrighteously, are an abomination to the Lord your God. So measure justly. And then destroying the Amalekites in verse 17. I just did a quick search on Amalekites, and the Amalekites show up in 24 verses, and it's telling them to remember here, who they were. And so when they were coming out of Egypt, Amalek, or the Amalekites, they're this southern part here. You see here Amalek in the map. Also, this would be where the tribe of Simeon was, and so Simeon is really the one who finalizes, or who ultimately destroys the Amalekites. But the Amalekites keep showing up. We even saw in his last prophecy Balaam, when he was to be cursing, but rather he was blessing the Israelites. He speaks towards the Amalekites as well, and they were ultimately the Israelites were instructed to destroy them, and we'll see this also later on with King Saul. King Saul had the opportunity, he didn't, but finally they're defeated in 1 Chronicles chapter 4 in the reign of Hezekiah. So we'll see that play out. Let's see. And really the reason for this is because as they were coming out of Egypt, the Amalekites were really taking advantage of them, and they were it says attacking the rear ranks and all the stragglers at the rear. Okay, and then in chapter 26, offerings of first fruits and tithes, and we saw this in earlier studies where there was this second tithe, where they're in this third year of bringing produce, and the third year you were to gather all your produce, and that all of those within your gates could come and enjoy the Levites, the stranger among you, widows, the fatherless, and this takes place here, and read in chapter 26 verses. Let's see. Basically the answer, the response, verse 5 of 26, and I'm just going to paraphrase it here. What they're doing is they're going through the history, and it's just this acknowledgement as these first fruits and tithe are being brought of, hey, my father was a Syrian, we were in Egypt, we were being brought out, acknowledging the afflictions and the labors of oppression. We were brought out of Egypt. The Lord, the Lord provided for that, and as such is also blessing me, and now I'm giving first fruits. And then referencing again the second tithe, and I have obeyed the voice of the Lord my God and have done according to all that you have commanded me. Verse 14, and then this request of God, look down from your holy habitation from heaven and bless your people Israel and the land which you have given us, just as you swore to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. And then, so the response of the Israelites to God is supposed to be obedience. And we see this in verse 16, where the Lord's telling them, hey, observe these statutes and judgments, Therefore be careful to observe them with all your heart and with all your soul, ending with that you may be a holy people, verse 19, holy people to the Lord your God, just as he has spoken. And then in verse 27, or excuse me, chapter 27, there are these laws on these stones. So these these stones are gathered and they're lime washed to be white, and all these commands are written on this. And and then on as they do this on Mount Ebal, they're to set these stones up as it says they're commanded to do so, and then they will offer there and eat there. And then we see this gathering on these two different mounts. So there's this valley between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim in verses 11 moving forward. And on Mount Gerizim, Gerizim, where these are where the blessing. This is the blessing. So there's six tribes to stand on Mount Gerizim to bless the people, and then there's Mount Ebal, and Mount Ebal. The gathering there would be a curse. So you have these blessings and these cursings, and there's six tribes on each. And as you go through, these curses are only the curses are being shared here. Cursed is the one who treats his father and mother with contempt. Amen. The people are responding. Cursed is the one who moves his neighbor's landmark. Amen. And so we see these cursings. And what's interesting here is the blessings are never given. At least at least vocally. I mean, this large gathering of people are here, and only the curses are given, and the amens to these curses. And in Galatians 3:10, it says, this is in the New Testament, Galatians chapter 3, verse 10, for as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse, for it is written, cursed is everyone who does not continue in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. And ultimately that's it. I mean, under the law, it's a curse under the law. And from a perspective, really the law is given almost as a means to frustrate, almost as a means to frustrate the holy people to in this age of law, in this administration of God, to really show that, hey, you can't do it. This cannot be done. You cannot fulfill all of these activities. And then all of this pointing towards the New Testament, pointing towards Christ, who ultimately fulfills the law and brings grace. And so no blessings are given here. Only the curses are acknowledged. And then in chapter 28, blessings on obedience. This is a big chapter, and because what's given here is this dichotomy of blessings and curses. And we can see the counterparts. For instance, if you read in verse 3, blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the country. And all of this is in the context, if you diligently obey. So, and then its counterpart with the curses, looking at verse 16, cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the country, if you don't obey. Verse 4, blessed shall be the fruit of your body. Verse 18, cursed shall be the fruit of your body. Verse 5, blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Verse 17, cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Verse 6, blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. Verse 19, cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. And so we see these counterparts, and it's almost as if each blessing also has a curse as its counterpart. And so with all of this, if you obey, here's the blessing. If you disobey, here's the curse. And this was just actually today in Oswald Chambers' Utmost for His Highest. He says, it is not natural to obey, yet it is not necessarily sinful to obey. There can be no real disobedience, nor any moral virtue in obedience, unless a person recognizes the higher authority of the one giving the orders. If this recognition does not exist, even the one giving the orders may view the other person's disobedience as freedom. If one rules another by saying, you must do this and you will do that, he breaks the human spirit, making it unfit for God. A person is simply a slave for obeying, unless behind his obedience is the recognition of a holy God. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, is God is saying, recognize me and observe.